Hey everybody, it's Sean in St. Louis from the Marketing Gateway, and thanks for joining us today. We're going to have an interview with some different types of people today, and those are the people that work behind the scenes on this podcast, and that is Trish Mertens and Holly Wooten. And you'll get to learn a little bit more about both of them, but I just want to say the reason that I felt it would be really good to include them, besides the fact that it's the holidays and it's kind of hard to find professional guests right now because everybody's out of their office, but it's also because Holly and Trish are a big part of what we do. And, I've been thinking ever since I did an episode a few weeks ago about Herta Herzog and her creation of the focus groups, and also just in general, all of the times in life where people behind the scenes, especially women, kind of get ignored for their contributions. I am not the kind of person that likes to ignore people. I like to celebrate them. And I celebrate these two because they have been a big part of the success of our firm at RPG, and they're also a big part of the success of this podcast. So I'm so excited to have them on today, and enjoy. Well, hey, everybody. I'm here with Trish Mertens and Holly Wooten, two members of my staff who both are contributing members to the podcast as well here. Trish is our office manager at RPG and also our fieldwork coordinator, but on the podcast, she is our scheduler. And then Holly, who has been an analyst for us at RPG, has taken on the role of doing podcast production and is actually responsible anytime you see it go up on the web for being the person that makes that happen. So Trish and Holly, so glad to have you on. And one of the reasons I wanted to be sure to have you guys featured in an episode, we're actually going to have you on 2 episodes here, is because I am the face of what we're doing here, because I'm in just about every episode, but I am not the only person doing all this work. And I love to give credit where it's due, as you both know, and especially when we have women who are working on things, because I think that there's just been a long history of guys taking credit for the contributions that women have made, and I don't want to be one of those guys. So I was really excited that we had an opportunity to have a couple of slots where we could just talk and introduce you all to everybody that listens. And so welcome, and let me just have you, Trish, why don't you start us off? Trish has been with us for about 5 years at RPG, and I rely on her like you wouldn't believe, because she's the person that's responsible for making sure the bills get paid. So Trish, tell me a little bit about just how you came to live in St. Louis, because I know, are you from here originally, or?
For the most part, yeah. I grew up here. I spent all of my younger years here, and then right after high school, after I had my second daughter, I decided to move to Joplin, and I was there for about 4 years, and ended up back in St. Louis because of the Joplin tornado. So after what was that, 2021, I believe that's when it hit. We moved back up here right after that. I think it was in February, and so been here ever since. So it's kind of my roots. It's where I wanted to be, and I missed home, and we came right back. And it was a good excuse to get out of there.
And
But
I always think about you with regards to that Joplin tornado, because that was a terrible disaster when that happened, and you guys were in it. You survived it.
We did, yeah. It kind of started at, like, we were pretty close to where the starting point was, so we were very lucky in that sense, because there was several people that were our neighbors' houses were completely trashed, and ours wasn't. It's just a wild thing that how it can skip one and hit another. It was very scary, very traumatic, but we were one of the lucky ones, thankfully. So, and I'm happy to be back in St. Louis because this is home for us. So we love it here.
And for that, I'm glad. And Trish is our expert on St. Charles County, because she lives in that area. And so anytime we need to know anything about what's going on out on the northwestern side, she is definitely a great resource for that, with Holly and I living in other parts of the area. So Holly, tell us a little bit about how you came to be in St. Louis, because you're not from here, I know.
No, yes. So originally I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. And then after me and my husband, we graduated from college, and I was trying to be anywhere but there. And so he was throwing a wide net of job applications. And then back in 2019, he got a call from a lab, because he is a chemist. So he got a call from a lab up here in the St. Louis area, and they offered him the job. they offered him the job on a Friday. We came up to look at the house that we were going to rent on Wednesday. And then the following Monday, we packed up what we could in my car after taking our engagement pictures. So we
Mhm.
didn't make it up to the city till the middle of the night. And then he had to go to work the next day. So it was a very interesting week and a half back in 2019 when we moved up here. So, and we've been up here ever
Moving
since.
back.
And I'm sure it was a fun acclimation having to get used to the different kinds of traffic we have around here, and the fact that we have all these rivers that nobody ever seems to want to cross for whatever reason.
We've made it work. We've made it work. You kind of have to when you're the only one that drives for the two people, but you know, we do what we got to do, and I definitely pick my feet up a little bit when I have to cross into the actual downtown city. So
And Holly, I always associate you two with Halloween because that was you guys chose to get married on Halloween one year,
yes.
and I know that's a big day for you. Trish, did you guys have any remarkable dates like that? Where you didn't get married on a holiday or anything, did you?
We did not, although today is our 18th anniversary. I'll give you that.
Really?
18 years we've been together.
Oh,
Yep, we
Well,
met 18 years
congratulations.
ago today. So that's exciting for us. But no, we did the typical June wedding. It was Father's Day weekend. If you want to call that our holiday, we did. We got married, and the very next morning was Father's Day, so it was a little bittersweet having, our dads are there, and dad's giving us away, and but it was a great weekend. It was beautiful.
Wow.
But
In my family, I have two brothers and of course my parents, and we all got married in July in different years. So, and my parents
oh
got
yeah,
married on the bicentennial back in 1976, July 4th. So theirs is really easy to remember. But my brothers too, for whatever reason, also picked July, and we picked July. So we all have July anniversaries. It's weird. Well,
it's hot.
fantastic. Well, tell me a little bit about you guys, having lived here for a bit, have probably gotten used to some of the things that we have going on in St. Louis. Some of the exciting things. I know, my family, we're big supporters of the zoo. We go there a lot. Science Center, of course, City Museum. We're big fans of those kinds of attractions. We just recently went out to the St. Charles Traditions of Christmas thing they do, where they have these costume actors that are out being different spirits of Christmas from different parts of the world or different parts of history. We love to know about stuff like that because it's always fun to do. But what are some of the things that you guys really enjoy about St. Louis?
I also went to the Christmas traditions on Main Street, which is beautiful. It's so much fun. The kids love going. They always like to collect all the character cards. It's a fun thing to do. It's a good family time. Botanical Gardens is one of my favorites. I love to go any time of the year. Summer, winter is great because they have all the Christmas lights up and you can walk through, and it's just beautiful. It's really one of my favorite spots to go to in the city, I think.
Yeah, I went there for the Japan Festival earlier this year. It was awesome.
Yeah, it
Just
was.
incredible. Yeah. Holly, how
There's
about you?
plenty to do.
Um, I don't know if there's one particular thing. I will say something that, and like I've talked to like my mom when she was here the other week for Thanksgiving, and like Kyle himself. Like, I appreciate how inexpensive doing things in St. Louis
Mhm.
is. Like we went to when, like I said, when my family was up here for Thanksgiving, we went to the brewery lights,
Mhm.
and I was expecting it to be like 25, $30. No, it was only like $12 a person. And that was like surprising to me because that just feels like such a big thing for it to be so like inexpensive. So, and same thing with the zoo lights. Like, I think they're like 15 to $18 or something like that, which I mean, I guess is on the higher end, but even still, that's like for something like that, like the zoo lights is like it's just mind blowing to me how like inexpensive those kinds of things are. And there's plenty of things to do around the city that are like free, like the science center, and the zoo. Like during like normal time is free, which again is incredible to me because even going during just the zoo lights or the lantern lights or whatever. Like it's just so fun and it's neat and there's a lot to do and a lot to look at. So it's just, I think that's something that I just really like about St. Louis as opposed to like living or being elsewhere, is just how, I can get in the car and I can just go do something and it doesn't have to like cost me very much. So I appreciate that.
I agree, Holly. I think it's wonderful that we have so many options in our city to be able to take your family, your children, or wherever to go and enjoy what we have and take the pressure off of what is this going to cost me? How much is this going to cost? I have a family of six. Holy moly! Like the littlest things really do add up. So I agree. We do have a great city that offers a lot of activities and entertainment with no cost. So that's lovely.
Yes. And the food. Like we have my Kyle, my husband and I, like we love food. We are food people. And like the food, obviously you're gonna have your chains. That's gonna be anywhere you go. But like the amount of like local places in like St. Louis is just it's so nice.
I feel like it's
speaking of
spoiled.
speaking of St. Louis food, what are some of your favorite St. Louis foods that you guys try? I will go on the record and say I cannot stand Emo's Pizza. Like I didn't grow up here. I don't understand it. I think you had to grow up here to love it. But what do you guys like?
Anything on
We
the hill, Italian for sure, hands
yes.
down.
We like Nudo.
Hmm.
Love Nudo. Like we've been planning for like weeks. We're like, man, we need to go back to Nudo. Like it's been a while since we've been to Nudo. We need to go. So that's like one of our favorite like local spots.
What does Nudo serve? I haven't been there.
They have like ramen and stuff. So they'll have like bowls. I think they have banh mi's as well. So
That
kind
sounds
of
good.
a wide array of Asian style cuisine, but it's
It's
really
my
good.
daughter there. She's
And we
obsessed.
do have a lot of different types of. I mean, people always associate St. Louis with the Hill, toasted
Mm,
ravioli, gooey
of
butter
course.
cake, Emo's Pizza, things like that. But we do have a lot of other types of food here that are from many different ethnicities. A lot of fusion type places. Like I like Soul Taco over in the Del Mar Loop, where it's a fusion of Korean and Mexican food.
Kyle loves
Crazy.
chocolate.
Who would ever think to put those things together? But it works.
Their waffle fries are so good too.
Are there any like classic St. Louis foods that you guys are a fan of? I liked toasted ravioli before I went vegetarian, and I have to admit the cheese variety of it is not nearly as good as the beef one. But
It's pretty hard to pass up. It's pretty good. Um,
This may be controversial. I do not like gooey butter cake. It's not.
Me either.
I'm a
It's
sweet tooth, and I
for me.
don't. It's way too sweet for me.
It's
I
pretty
can't.
sweet. I could take a bite and be done. Just taste it, and
Mm.
that's enough for me. But yeah, it gets pretty heavy. Um, I don't know. It's hard to say because we're big foodies too, and I mean, we want it all. Wings are great. I mean, anywhere like it's hard. We have our few favorite spots. We've gotten to a bit of a dip where we just go to our favorites because that are close to home. But when we really want to venture out, we like to go downtown and just kind of explore all new places and try all the new things, which seems to change a lot. But at the same time, like you can count on a few of those nice restaurants to leave. Like they're still there, and that's been great. Pizza. I mean, we got a couple of really nice pizza, like good pizza places that we really like. Which Sarah's I've heard burned down recently,
hmm.
which is that's unfortunate. I don't know if they plan on rebuilding or not, but I hope so. That'd be great because they've been around for a long time. And Sean, I believe like no pizza is like one of your top favorites. I believe is that right?
Which one?
Pizza. I mean, I know you're a big pizza fan.
Totally, but there's not a lot of St. Louis pizza places that I actually like because I like Chicago deep dish, and it's hard to
Yeah,
find around here.
it
There's
is.
one Chicago deep dish place around here that's Nancy's,
Nancy's.
and that's a real Chicago chain. I mean, they were actually the inventors of the stuffed pizza. But Yeah, beyond
Yeah.
that, Racanelli's, which is New York style Neapolitan pizza. I love that. That's local
Mhm.
here, but it's not St. Louis style.
No, and you're right about the Emo's pizza. You either love it or hate it. My husband feels the same way. He's like, I don't know what you're thinking about this kind of pizza, but he'll eat it. But he doesn't like the Provel. I'm like, man,
if
you're crazy.
if there's anyone listening that isn't familiar with Emo's Pizza, Emo's is a St. Louis chain that is famous for using this blend of cheese called Provel, and I think it's like provolone and mozzarella and something else.
Yeah.
And they kind of squeeze it together into this gelatinous, kind of tube, and then you shred it
Creamy.
again and you put it on the pizza. And it just you love it or you hate it. And I personally hate it. To me it just tastes awful, and I don't know what it is about that particular blend, but it just doesn't work for me on pizza. It's fine on a sandwich, but
And you're gonna have all the Emos hate coming after you now.
I know. I'm a heretic. The problem is I moved here when I was 10, and so I didn't grow up eating it. I remember even Pizza Hut was trying to do a St. Louis style pizza one year when I was a kid, and we all thought it was gross. Now, granted, it was Pizza Hut, so it wasn't a high bar to clear to begin with, but well, so we talked a little bit about some of the fun attractions. We talked about some of the good food. I'm kind of surprised we haven't talked yet about the big thing in St. Louis, which is, well, there's really two big things. One of them is the high school question,
Oh,
which I grew up in the Metro East, so nobody asked me what high school I went to. But the other thing is the sports teams we have here. So Trish, like, did you grow up in the St. Charles area? Like, did people care about what high school you went to?
oh yeah. That's the number one question when you meet anybody in St. Louis is, okay, where did you go to school from or at? And so yes, I went to Fort Zumwalt South High School. Pretty much grew up in the St. Peter's area. We moved here back, I think when I was around 8 or 9, somewhere around there. And my father was in the Navy and stuff, so we traveled a little bit. And then when we landed back here in St. Louis, and I pretty much stayed here up until we headed out for Joplin. But yeah, it was interesting. I don't know. It was pretty fun.
I went to O'Fallon High School in the Metro East, O'Fallon Township High School, and I grew up in O'Fallon, Illinois, which we always thought, oh, we're the good O'Fallon. There's another O'Fallon
Mhm.
over in Missouri, in St. Charles County, that they can't possibly be as good as us. And I've
Yeah.
since visited there and figured out, no, they actually are the better one. I don't remember, are they one of the Fort Swinwat schools too?
So when I went to high school, many moons ago, these days, I hate to say, but there was just the two high schools. It was just north and south. And now we have an east and a west and a north and a south. And I'm sure there's probably more coming around the corner. I mean, it's just expanded tremendously out here in the last 20 years for sure.
I did a project for St. Charles for the Economic Development Council once, and I was just looking at their demographic data, and they went from having like 30,000 people back in the 70s and 80s to like 300,000 people or
Mhm.
more by the time I did the study. And I think it's gotten beyond that since because of all the expansion that's gone on. So, and I know a lot of those people moved from North County out there because you'll talk to a lot of people that grew up in North County and then moved out to
Mhm.
St. Charles County for more, affordable housing or for more suburban type environments or parks or, things like that. But it
Mhm.
definitely blew up from even
Oh,
when
yeah.
I was a kid.
Oh, for sure. I remember when there was cornfields and stuff out in O'Fallon, and you don't see any of that anymore. Not very often. Not on Highway K anyway.
Well, Holly, you've gotten to know St. Louis kind of from the perspective of someone that's moved in as an adult. So, are there any favorite parts of town that you have?
So we actually, before we moved out to because of course now we live in the Metro East area on the Illinois side. So before we moved out here, we actually lived out in Chesterfield. And if I could have afforded to stay there, I definitely would have, because I do like how, especially the particular area that we were at, we were like right off of 64. So we were literally like a 2-second drive from getting on the highway, which I really appreciated because I know, especially like with going back to my mom's house, she lives like a good like 10 minutes from the highway, just like having to get through her neighborhood and stuff. And I just kind of hate having to do that. And that's kind of how we are now, where it's like a 15 minutes to like get over to the highway. So, and that just like that adds up a little bit when you're trying to go somewhere. So I really appreciated that because it just made everything, like every trip just felt so much shorter, and a lot there was actually a lot out there. And even when we were moving, or like when we were getting ready to move and we were leaving the area and everything, like things were like picking up quite a bit. Like I know they have, I don't know exactly what their plans for the Chesterfield Mall are, but I know they had some plans to make that more of like an entertainment kind of area. So I'm interested to see how that goes. Because we do still like going out there because there's like local places out there that we like to visit when we are able to make the time to do it, since it is a 40-minute drive now. So yeah, but yeah, I like the Chesterfield area a lot. Um, Brentwood, despite its flaws, has its perks. The
This is
mall
where
is
our office is located,
Galleria.
by the way, for anyone that's listening.
The Galleria is pretty nice. I will admit, the Galleria is nice to just like, even if you don't really care for shopping, just to like walk around and like the nat for a mall, the natural lighting in there is actually really good, especially around like the food court area where it's got that big like dome. I think that's where that is, but um like I said, for it being a mall, the natural light in there is actually really nice. So I can appreciate the Galleria.
Right around the corner from our office is the infamous Brentwood Promenade, which is a shopping center that has a Target and a Trader Joe's and Micro Center and other things. And I can see it right now, actually, as I look out the window, and it is full of cars today. It is a place that everybody in St. Louis avoids like crazy, but still everybody seems to go to because it's always crowded over there. So we're right around the corner from all that hustle and bustle, and Gallery is just down the street. So I get
It's
what you're
just
saying
because
about Brentwood.
everything shares that parking lot. Like if everything didn't have to share that parking lot, I think it would be fine. But since every store over there has that one parking lot, it's just
With the tiniest, narrowest parking spots they could possibly fit in there.
like
Well, so let me ask you both: are you fans of the Cardinals or the Blues or any of the other local sports teams?
Oh yeah. Uh, Sad to say, it's been a busy year. I've not made it to a hockey game this year. I'm not a huge hockey fan, but my husband is huge. Um, we do like to go to the Cardinals game, and it's really, really fun, especially with the schools in our area. They get really involved with the St. Louis Cardinals, and they like to have, like, my daughters have a couple of them, well, probably all of them at this point, have had a chance to sing with their choirs on the field at the stadium with the Cardinals. So that's always really fun to go and watch, and especially when you got a kid out there just soaking in the moments. They love it. So, and I love it as a mom being able to watch that and be a part of it. So I'm really glad that they offer that kind of stuff for the kiddos. Um, but yeah, we love going to games. It's a fun family thing to do in any of them. With the St. Louis Cardinals, we've got the Blues, we've got soccer now, which is cool, which is fun. And I've only made it to one of those so far, but it was fun. It was a good time. I'm happy to see that we're getting more and more sports and athletic teams in our area.
How did you feel about the Rams leaving town?
I was a little bummed actually because I love football. I love football, and I am a huge Chiefs fan, um, which is a huge bummer because we lost, Patrick Mahomes last night for his ACL, and so we're going to be
Yeah.
out of the playoffs and all that. And, it's a bummer, but I really loved when we had the Rams here. It was a fun time. Things change and we get it, but we had them when we had a good time when we had, I think it was Kurt Warner and Marshall Falk. I think we had a good duo there for a while and won that Super Bowl several years back, and that was great. It was so much fun to watch. But we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get another one. down the
I,
road.
I was I was going to college at the University of Illinois, and when the Rams were having their moment in the sun, and it was
Hmm.
nice to see St. Louis doing something because almost everybody there was from Chicago,
Yeah.
and so we were all rooting for St. Louis because it was their next closest team. So it was nice, like finally St. Louis gets to do something that
Yeah.
we all care about. That and
Yeah.
the baseball home run thing was going on at the same time, where Mark McGuire
Yeah.
was hitting home runs, and that was a big thing too, where we had St. Louis
Yeah.
and Chicago kind of seeing who was going to hit the most home runs.
Yeah, it was a really fun time in the city too, because everything just felt alive and vibrant, and there was this really cool energy just everywhere because everybody was like on a high from all the cool things that were going on. So that was neat. It was neat to be able to experience it.
When the Blues won the Stanley Cup just down the street from our office one day, I
Mhm.
couldn't get out. There were people everywhere, and it
Oh,
turned
I
out the
can imagine.
Blues like to go and drink at one of the bars down the street,
Yeah.
and they were there, and all
Oh, yeah.
these fans just mobbed the place, and you couldn't get out of our office building until you got through the crowd. So
Yep, I can imagine. Yep.
yeah, that was pretty wild.
We were
Holly, how
out.
about you guys? Are you into sports at all?
Not so much. We are definitely more indoor people, but I do like going to the baseball games when they do the theme nights. I really want them to hurry up and release the theme calendar for 2026, because I mean, I'm not I'm not much of a sports person, but I like y'all were saying, like the vibes when you go to like a
Mhm.
game are just, especially when we win, are like impeccable. Like they're so like it's just so much fun to like it's just something to do, and again, it's very inexpensive a lot of the time if you find the right seats. So that's also definitely a plus. Um and
Blues has great fans
I
too.
yeah, and like it's just a lot of fun. Even not being a sports person, I really do enjoy getting to go to the games every now and again. It's not something like I'm not going to buy a season pass probably, but it is just fun to it's something to do, and just have a good time. And like I said, the vibes, like it's one of those things where it's definitely the crowd that helps make it, because it's like everybody's just so excited and like so into it, and then you start getting into it and you're just like, yeah, like knock them out stuff. So
Well, and St. Louis is different from a lot of other cities in that, if you're driving down Interstate 64, which everybody in Missouri calls Highway 40 for some reason,
Right.
you drive past the Busch Stadium where the Cardinals play. You drive past the stadium where the center where the Blues play. You drive past the soccer field. You drive past the zoo and the Science Center and all the other attractions that we've mentioned. It's all like in this central corridor and really easy to get to and really visible. So that makes it a lot more fun because then, and by the way, you're passing the Gateway Arch as you're going through all that stuff too. So it's a very visible city, I think. And I've been to a lot of different cities, traveled a lot, and normally things are pretty spread out, and you have to go to different parts of town for different types of events. Except in Kansas City, where they have the Chiefs and the Royals play right next to each other out
Right.
on the Missouri side. But yeah, a lot of times you don't get all of that just in one shot the way we do here. And I think that's one of the things that makes St. Louis a little bit different and kind of special is that it's all very, very easy to get to and very visible. And, some of my other favorite things in town, we love the Fox Theater, which we go there to see musicals and shows all the time. We're going to Phantom of the Opera in a few months and Hadestown next year. We're excited about that. The St. Louis Public Library is one of my favorite places to go. Speaking of free things, like we pay a fee because we're out of state. We pay like a $50 fee to be able to use the library, but they have everything, and they have this beautiful library that's got like really awesome architecture. You can go and take tours. People go in there and take wedding pictures and things like that. And I love the opportunity to go to places like that and experience all the different media that they have and all the collections that they have. And then we actually have a lot of really good art museums in St. Louis too. And I talked about this with Wes Morgan in one of our previous interviews, but we have an awesome free art museum in Forest Park, and we have a modern art museum, and we have a couple of different galleries that are showing off different kinds of exhibits around town. We have great other types of theater as well, like the Repertory Theater at Webster is really famous for putting on just awesome plays, and there are other playhouses and theater companies around town that do a lot of different things. So we have a pretty good performing arts scene, which I don't think a lot of people think when they think St. Louis.
No. Did you in the
I wish we
Muni?
had a better comedy scene here. That's one thing that we're lacking. There's only a couple places to go for comedy, but
It's picking up. We are going. The Factory has picked up quite a few, I believe, comedy shows as well, and I think we have a couple stadium tours from some comedians coming. I'm actually going to the Nate in January. He's going to be at Enterprise, I believe. Nate, I forget his last name. He's pretty famous. Like he's one that everybody knows. But sorry, I'm terrible. It's a hard last name, and I'm even going to try to pronounce it because I will butcher it for sure. But
gotcha.
if you love comedy, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. I'll have to Google it and look it up and let you know. But he's coming soon, so I'm excited to go see him because we love going to those comedy shows too. The Funny Bone. Now that we have 2 locations, it's easier to get to a few of them.
They've come and gone in a lot of different places. We even had a version of it over in the Metro East where I live at one point. So, well, we kind of wind us down on this discussion. So this is the Marketing Gateway. We talk about marketing on here. We talked a lot about St. Louis. So if you were going to make a pitch to someone about why they might want to live here, raise a family here, I mean, one of the things we all agree on, I think, is that it's a really affordable place to have a family, right? And that's certainly helped me. I know it's helped you, Trish, and Holly. I'm sure it'll help you down the road. What would your pitch be to somebody if you're like, you really should consider moving to St. Louis because? What would you say?
Oh man.
See, I'm lucky in the sense that I didn't have to pitch it to my friends. All of my friends, when they came up here, they were like, wow, I love St. Louis. And a few of them actually have plans to move up here eventually. Obviously, moving to a completely different state takes a lot of time. I was Kyle and I were in a very unique circumstance when we did it, but so I've definitely got friends that, like I said, I'm lucky that I don't even have to pitch it to them because they've been up here and they just really enjoy it. I think one of my friends even was trying to convince her moms to move up here. So they were like, wow, it's so great. So, it's just, I feel like the city speaks for itself, I guess you can say, because it's just like we've already discussed, there's just so much to do. And it's just great. I love living here.
So come here, you'll want to live here. It would be your like.
Well,
how about you, Trish?
What's really not to love? I mean, like we mentioned, there's everything that you can imagine that you would want to do. Basically, anything that you want to do is within 20 minutes away. For the most part, unless you live in Illinois, you add an extra 20 minutes. But like Holly mentioned, it's affordable. There's plenty of options. There's great food. There's good entertainment. The people are great. Plenty of good schools, good education for your children. Plenty of anything you can think of to take them to go entertain your children with, because we all know we need to keep those kids busy and keep them off their phones and keep them active because that's super important. And there's parks everywhere. Like anything that you can imagine it's kind of, like Sean said, it's all located centrally. So it makes it very accessible to get just about anywhere you want to go. And having that and living in other places where it was difficult to have those things is one of the reasons why we moved back. Because when we lived in Joplin, it's a great little town and there's great people there, but there's limited resources because you're in a smaller town, and anytime you'd like to go do something, it was going to be an hour and a half travel time, and just made it a little bit more difficult to get up and go do something fun for the weekend, And I feel like moving back to St. Louis, we've been able to just have free weekends where we want to go on a hike. There's plenty of hiking trails. There's, like I said, there's parks, there's food, there's entertainment. We have Cuddleville that's right up the street from my home, and they offer all kinds of options of vendors and food trucks and they'll play the games. They'll play the Cardinals games or the Blue games on the big TV, and you can just sit outside by the fire pit and watch the games for free. I mean, it's kind of unlimited, so it's really a no-brainer. And if you like the seasons, the weather, you'll get every season in a week.
We're getting that this week, in fact. Yeah.
Exactly. You might get summer, spring, and fall all in a matter of a couple of days. So there's
if the
that.
leaves hadn't already fallen off the trees, we would think that it might still be spring, because it went
Right.
from being 10 degrees yesterday to 60 degrees by Thursday, right? So
Very true. Now, if you don't like all the seasons, you might want to reconsider. But we get a little bit of it all here, so I would say it's just a great place to be. I'm happy here. I'm glad we came back.
Your pitch is a little bit of everything. It's a great place to be. I like that.
Yeah, it's really true. I mean, honestly, we kind of do. We kind of have it all, so it's great.
Well, fantastic. Well, it's been great talking with you both. We're gonna take a break from this particular recording, and we're gonna move on to talk in our next episode about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about brands and marketing, and I'm gonna give them a little bit of a quiz to see what they're familiar with. And I think it's going to be interesting because we have two different generations here. Trish and I are of one generation. Holly's a little bit younger than us, so we're going to see, what are some differences that they might have in terms of what they grew up with and what they know. So, be sure to check out that next episode. But thanks, Trish and Holly, for being on. Thanks for all the contributions you make to the Marketing Gateway, and of course to us at Team RPG. It's such a pleasure to talk with you.
You too. Thanks for having us.
Well, I'd like to thank Trish and Holly for being on, and we were going to record a second part right after what you just heard, and we unfortunately had a lot of technical difficulties. So we're going to get together and record that second part in a different session, and that'll be available sometime next week. So look forward to that. But in the meantime, I'm Sean in St. Louis. This has been the Marketing Gateway, and see you next time.